What's up, everyone, and welcome to another Bitcoin market update. In these videos, you will learn how to use technical analysis to forecast price movements in your favorite cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and others. So let's dive into the Bitcoin chart here on the monthly time frame. We can see that we have this declining bear volume here, as well as this longer lower wick on this candlestick here from June, indicating people buying the dip, which is good news if we are a Bitcoin bull. We might be forming our higher low right here and then go up to form our lower high somewhere below this one at 65K. So the reason we think that we're going to set a lower high is because it's very unlikely, given the magnitude of this drawdown, that we will come up and go right past that zone, which would be about 126% without setting a lower high and coming down to form a higher low first if we are to actually go up from here. So that's the first thing to keep in mind there. The second thing to keep in mind is the pivot zones here. So if we look at the pivots, the resistance zone is going to be the 46,200 roughly dollar level here. That's something we've been talking about in these videos for quite some time now. Let's go to the weekly time frame here. So if we look at this from a weekly perspective, we have been seeing the price kind of consolidate within this light blue zone here. The light blue zone is our main support zone for price, and you can see that it's already held for at least two bounces here. So we have one bounce here, and then a second bounce here, and now we're potentially going to test this a third time. And if we test this a third time, this is, like we always talk about with support and resistance levels, getting weaker with every subsequent test. So the first one, it was pretty good for a quick bounce here. And then the second test here, we still got a bounce. We wicked below this kilo here and this kilo below this candle. That's why those two green check marks are there, because that was likely what we call a liquidity grab. And this is where the big players in the market, the whales, are pushing the price down to trigger stop losses below key lows, in this case, below this low and this low. And so they wicked below that, and then they closed back up, way up here. And so this is pretty significant in terms of what this could mean for future price action. What this could mean is this was the final time that we're going to go below these two lows for the short term, for the next, I would say, at least month or 2 months, potentially. And then the second thing to consider is, now we have a potential buying opportunity when the price comes down below this key low here at 30, well, not key low, but below the low of this last week's candlestick, which is at 32,680 on this exchange. So anywhere, and the reason why I say we have a potential good buying opportunity is because of the magnitude of this bounce that we've seen right here of about 27%, it's unlikely that we're just going to go down and go for a new lower low on the first test. On this drawdown. What's more likely is we come down and we form a higher low, and then if we are to go into a bear trend, we're going to come up and form a lower high in comparison to this one, and then we'll go down for a lower low. So it'll look something like this. So if we come down, we form a higher low somewhere above this one. Then we come up, we form a lower high in comparison to this one, and then we come down for a lower low. And if we get a lower low here and we get two candle closes below this light blue zone, this will turn into a resistance zone for price that will potentially be a shorting opportunity. So that is one scenario there. The other scenario is we come down, we form a higher low, and then we come up and make a higher high. Now, if we do that, that will change the trend for the bulls, and the bulls will be back in control in terms of momentum. So then they can carry the price up, potentially even up to this R2 pivot, which is up here at about $46,300, like we talked about on the monthly time frame. That's the same level. But the bulls are really going to have to show up somewhere down here. So let's go to lower time frames and see what we're dealing with. If we go to the 3-day, we've really been tightening up here. So we came up, we had this bounce right here. We came up, we formed this nice big bodied white candlestick here. Then we had this drawdown right here, but this was an inside bar. We closed that right here, opened up. We have another inside bar here with this candle, and now we're on this candlestick here. So if this breaks up, we'll likely see some pretty good, well, it depends on how, it's very unlikely that this breaks up because of where this candlestick just closed. We would have to go up really significantly. And if we look, there's a pivot level right here, which is going to provide some resistance. There's also the 2-day resistance level, this gray zone, that's also going to provide some resistance. And we've already bounced a very significant amount, of about, well, over 27% on this rise in price here. So it's very unlikely that we'll just go up and then continue to go up without coming down and forming a higher low. So I think that this was our lower high in comparison to this one, and now we're going to come down and see if we can form a higher low. Now this light blue zone, this dark blue zone here, actually let's go 2-day time frame and then we'll go to that dark blue zone. If we look at the 2-day time frame, we had the makings of a bull trend here with a low, high, higher, low, higher, high. But then once we got our close above this key high, the next candle closed back below it, so it didn't confirm the trend. We formed a higher low, came up, potentially just formed a lower high. And the reason why I think that is because of the way this candlestick looks. We got all the way up to here at about 35.8, but now we closed back down below at about 33.7. So that's very significant, and it's likely that we will end up going down to break to a new lower low below this key low here at 32,680. You can see also we're rejecting off of this daily pivot level right here, and we're rejecting off of this gray level, which we've talked about several times, probably resisting price on a second test, and that's what we saw right here. So we had one test, here's the potential second test, and then if we go into it again or a fourth time, it'll be weaker every time, and we might be able to actually break through it. But every time we test this, it's getting weaker, and right now it's still holding pretty strong. So let's go to the daily time frame and look at the support zone that we have here. This is this candlestick back here from January 31st from our bull trend right here. So we have been holding above this zone or wicking below it only, and then closing below it and then closing back inside of it. So we haven't gotten 2 candle closes below this dark blue zone ever in its history. So if we do get 2 candle closes below the zone, this is going to be a very significant resistance level for price on a retest. So that's something I'm going to be watching. The other thing to note is this candlestick does not look bullish in any way, shape, or form. So you can see that it doesn't have almost any upper wick at all. In addition to that, the lower wick on it is not very long, so not many people buying the dip. And then you can see that it kind of had significant bear volume in comparison to the 3 days prior on this bull run. So let's see what we get here on the daily time frame. But if we push through this zone and close 2 candlesticks below it, that will be resistance. So now if we go to the lower time frames, this is where we start to get some mixed signals. So if we look at this from a pivots perspective, you can see the 12-hour is momentarily bouncing off of this S1 pivot here, and it is now running into this gray resistance zone that's on the 12-hour time frame from right here. And this is where we had our bull trend and then pushed right through it and closed below it. So this turned into resistance right here. We had a nice little trade that we talked about on, I believe, this YouTube channel for 3 point something percent on spot and more on leverage, and then we pushed through it, but we did not close 2 candles above it, so it didn't turn into support. We pushed back below it, and now we closed 2 candles below it again, so now it's resistance again. And so now this is likely that if we come up and go into this gray zone again, it's going to reject off of this, and then it'll likely probably go down to a new lower low based on those daily time frames like we talked about. If we go to the 6-hour time frame, here is a trade that we actually talked about on the Leutheria Signals Discord channel that we just released yesterday or the day before, which you can get access to if you email team@leutheria.com. There's a link for that in the description below. I encourage you to check that out if you're interested in learning how to trade these different crypto assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum and get unlimited access to all of the different trading ideas that we post at Leutheria. This was one of them for today, so we had a nice quick gain here off of this gray resistance zone right here. So this is where, you know, we went short right here, or this is the idea on a price action like this, is to go short right here, and then you can see that that was about a 1.86% on spot, but on leverage, if we're using something like 3x leverage, which is fairly common, then that was over 4%. So that was a nice one. Didn't take very long, and we might still see this play out over the coming days and hours where this price pushes even lower. So if we go back into this gray zone again, you can see that we have this pivot level inside of it. That's going to act as resistance for price as well, and we'll look for a potential rejection off of this zone. Like we talked about, 12-hour time frame is looking pretty bleak here in terms of any sort of momentum for the bulls, but we still have 9 hours 45 minutes left on this candlestick, so we'll see what the bulls can do here. The bulls would like to see increasing bull volume here with a nice long-bodied white candle if we are to try and push through these zones. All right, so that's all I got for this one, guys. If you like this video, give it a like down below and subscribe for future educational content around crypto and blockchain technology. And check out our Leutheria Telegram channel. This is a free resource that you can join where you can learn and collaborate and grow with community members from around the world. You can get your questions answered. You can learn about different cryptocurrency projects and ideas. And it's just a great place to hang out and meet new people from around the world as well. So check that out. There's a link for that in the description below. And until tomorrow, onward and upward.